Good afternoon, everyone. Allison Skyward here with Consolidated Planning Group. We are happy that you have joined us today. Today, we're going to be talking about our new SSI, SSDI application advocacy and support service that we have started offering in 2026. It's been a long time coming. People have been asking us to add the service for more than 10 years. So we're going to talk a little bit more about how it works today. So I always start off by letting you know that we are in webinar mode today, which means that we can't see you or hear you. We do have people that join by podcast as well. And so for the people that are listening to this after the fact on podcast, we always like to let you know that if you'd like a copy of the slides and a link to the recording, you can email us as cpgcares.net, and we'll be happy to share those slides with you. So for the questions, we've had some questions that were sent in ahead of this meeting today. We are going to get to those as many as we can during the time that we have together today. We do invite you to put your questions in the chat box if you have additional questions. If you already sent them in, we definitely have them. You don't have to put those in the chat box for for these purposes. So for people that are joining us for the very first time, Consolidated Planning Group is a holistic special needs financial planning firm. We're nationally certified as Social Security advisors, members of the Special Needs Planning Academy, chartered special needs consultants. Our whole firm is nuanced in helping a family plan for the future of a loved one with a disability. I myself am a parent to three adults with disabilities. We eat, sleep, and breathe this both personally and professionally. One of the unique things about Consolidated Planning Group, while we are domiciled in the state of Texas, we work all throughout the United States. So if you're listening in today from a state other than Texas, we can definitely help you. That is something that we hear a lot of, are you aware of services that are in my particular area as it relates to some of the things that we're going to be talking about, but we serve all across. Okay. So when it comes to planning for the future of your loved one, we have a lot of webinars. Our webinars are really our way of advocacy and support of the community, the disability community. And it is our hope that through our webinars, the educational webinars, we partner with attorneys, we partner with Social Security Administration, Health and Human Services, Medicaid waivers. We do a lot of advocacy in that way. And we hope that our webinars will empower you. And instead of feeling defeated or overwhelmed with all the things that you're working through, that you feel empowered and have some real nuggets that you can take away and kind of implement in the things that you're doing for your family member. So we help people, comprehensively plan for the future of your loved one, not just your loved one, but your other kids, your other family members, yourself, when it comes to retirement planning. We've got a big job when it comes to funding a special needs trust for our loved ones. It's like another retirement bucket. So if we've got a husband and wife, there's two retirement buckets. If we've got one special needs child, there's a third, and some people have more than one child with a disability. So careful planning goes into play. What we always like to say is whether you work with us or you work with somebody else, work with a professional that is specifically nuanced and working with families that have a loved one with a disability. That comes for the financial side of the house, which is us. And that also comes for the legal side of the house. And we partner with attorneys all of the time. We had a nice webinar yesterday. And the attorneys that we partner with are specifically nuanced as it relates to special needs planning. They don't dabble in this. And because it is so important that we have money in the right buckets, we preserve eligibility for state and federally funded programs, which we're going to be talking about SSI today. It's really, really important that you have money in the right buckets. So what you see on the screen here is this Consolidated Planning Group flower. And that is what you can search for. If you type in Consolidated Planning Group YouTube channel, you can find our YouTube channel and you can subscribe to for free. All of our webinars are recorded. All of our past webinars live on the YouTube channel. And when you register for a webinar with us, if you opt in for communication, you will get an email with a copy of the slides and a link to the recording. I always just like to mention that if you opt out of communication, don't wonder why you didn't get an email, because if you opt out of communication, we are not going to email you on that. Okay. So I want to really just dive right in today to introduce Jessica Alvarez. She is leading our SSI Advocacy and Support Service here at CPG and that team. And so what this service, she's going to kind of go into the details of how it all works and things like that. But the bottom line is a lot of people are very, very busy. They're very busy in their own life and caregiving. They're very busy in their jobs. We have people that are surgeons. We have people that are pilots, and it just makes it hard to navigate all of this stuff when you're in and out of complex situations from a work perspective. So this is a paid for service. It is not a free service. It is a fee for service. And what we're doing here is we're helping you understand the process. We're going to give you clear education on each step. We're going to prepare you and get ready for that application. There are certain steps that need to happen that before a person applies to ensure that they're not going to get denied right off the bat. Those things, we've talked about this on many times on webinars, but maybe you have child support that is going to go post age 18. Well, before we start this process, that child support might need to be redirected to a first party special needs trust to preserve that eligibility for SSI. So we're going to kind of get in the weeds with you on what your unique situation is and provide guidance on if there's any pre-work ahead of time prior to submitting the application. Submitting the application early or prematurely before taking care of some of these things ends up in a denial. Sometimes those denials take 12 to 18 months, and then you're starting all over. So what we want to do is we want to start with a clean slate when we know that we've got the money in the right buckets and we've got things set up properly. So we're going to provide guidance on where and how to request records, school records, medical records, things like that. We're going to help you organize those documents in preparation for proper submission through the client's portal. We're going to complete the application with the information that you supply to us, and then provide the guidance on how to upload it through the portal. We're going to help with understanding notices and required actions as far as letters are concerned. And I know Jessica's going to talk a little bit more about that. And the big thing is we're really going to help you avoid some of the mistakes that really prevent delays or denials on the first time. So, Jessica, we are always, we're super happy that you are here, and I know that you are going to talk a little bit more about all of this and the services. I do have a question already right off the bat. Thank you for putting that out there. It says, "Is it safe to put your money that is over $2,000 in an ABLE account prior to filing for SSI?" And the answer is yes. And that is a great question to ask, because some people hear that you can't have more than $2,000 in your child's name outside of an ABLE account or a special needs trust, which is true. And then they say, okay, well, I'm just going to close that account, or, oh, I'm just going to move that money to my name. So there's the right way and a wrong way of moving money, but a right way is spending it down for the said benefit, of that child, or moving it to an ABLE account. And if it is their money, or moving it to a first party special needs trust. So that is, and that's part of some of the education that we are going to provide. Okay, so having said that, Jessica, I'm going to let you take things away.
All right. Thank you, Allison. Good morning to everyone. I just want to let you know I am the new benefits advocate with Consolidated Planning Group. I'm here to guide the parents when it comes to filing for the Social Security benefits for your child. As it's been mentioned to us before, many parents get overwhelmed they say, well, I don't know what it takes. I'm scared to apply. I don't know if I'm going to be, able to get the benefits or not. This is what I'm here for. I'm here to not only guide you, but to also educate you in the proper way of what it is to file for these benefits. So first of all, it's a step-by-step application. What you need to make sure that you're organized with to start. I will, as well, if you do, decide to go with us. To start, you need to have the ID.me. That is to complete the application for the Social Security. So you do need to be ready with documentation such as a recent state ID, a driver's license, recent as well, a passport. A school ID is not valid, as well as if it's expired, it is not valid either. So here are some items that you, as you can see on the slide, make sure you have your child's social security card, a birth certificate, name, address, phone number, and all the doctors, therapists, and specialists that your child has been seen. Also, recent medical records, diagnosis, evaluation, and treatment. You want to have at least 5 years of that. School records, IEP evaluations, and progress reports. Proof of income as well, bank statements, at least 3 months, and any assets that you or your child or family has. Proof of employment if your child has worked, regarding also the address, the phone number, and at least 5 years of work experience. Also living arrangements if your child is paying any kind of rent, or what is the living arrangement that child has. You want to make sure that that is also on on hand. Guardianship letter, that is important as well, to make sure that if you have guardianship, we do need to know that as well. So if we don't have guardianship for the child, because of them being 18 years old, they would have to speak on their own behalf. Parent will just be there on the side, but is not able to answer any questions.
I'm going to pause there for a minute, Jessica. So there's a couple of things, because some people have power of attorney, supported decision-making agreement, depending on what state you're in. The Social Security Administration, it doesn't matter what state you're in, does not recognize power of attorney and supported decision-making agreements. They do recognize guardianship, but there are a lot of families that their kids are not under guardianship. And they can still be the representative payee because maybe their child can't handle finances. Maybe their child doesn't have an intellectual disability, but they're nonverbal. So there are ways to go about being a representative payee, even if you don't have guardianship. So always want to say that, because that doesn't mean because your child's turning 18 that you must run out and get guardianship. In Texas and in most states, it's the least restrictive, most appropriate for the ward. And not all people with disabilities need a guardianship. And a qualified attorney is going to talk to you about that. So I want to mention that. And then I would like to mention also on the medical records, I would say on the medical records, we need a summary of diagnosis and history. They're going to go after and request 5 years of medical records. I don't find it necessary to go back and get the 5 years of medical records as a parent, because they're going to do it anyway. But as long as you have summary or synopsis of the diagnoses, and I would say don't forget everything, right? So if a person has autism, but they also have ADHD and insomnia and anxiety, don't forget that insomnia. So we want to, include all of those diagnoses. good addresses, names, address, and phone numbers for those doctors is going to be good. And just a snapshot of what those diagnoses are and the approximate dates that those happened is probably going to be fine. But I cannot stress enough that this is important. These government or state issued IDs. So whether it is a driver's license or a state ID or a passport, those are all going to be things that you use to create the client portal on the Social Security Administration. It changed how you log in, has changed. It used to be optional for log me in or login.gov, and now it's not optional anymore. And so that is going to be an important component, and a lot of families miss that, and it kind of delays the process. So, and then, we did have a question of in the chat box that said, how early should you apply for SSI for your child? Do they have to be 18 or a month before their birthday? So that's a really good question. And for the most part, now this isn't true for everyone, most families' children, even if they are disabled, don't qualify for SSI prior to turning 18 because it's based off of the parent's income and assets, not the child's. Okay. So there are families that, based off of the parents' income and assets, that their children do qualify for SSI prior to turning 18. So for the families
Yeah.
that are already having kids that are getting SSI, the first thing I want to tell you, so under age 18, they're getting SSI. When they turn 18, you're going to have to reapply. It doesn't automatically continue. So that's one thing that you need to know. For the most part, because basically if the family has more than $2,000 in their name and the child's under age 18, they're not going to qualify. So most people, it needs to be the month following the 18th birthday, not the month before. It's the month following the 18th birthday is typically the right time, but we can get started on that process. So we're sitting on go, ready to submit that application the month following after the 18th birthday because there's a protected filing date. Okay. So that is a good question. Let me just check our questions. So one person says, are there any specific qualifying mental health and behavioral health diagnosis? And that is a loaded question. Behavioral and mental health diagnoses are challenging with the Social Security Administration, but the Social Security Blue Book, they have a red book about working and getting benefits. They have a blue book, which is a medical impairment guide, where you can look up all of your child's diagnosis and look up what kind of proof they're looking for to prove that that child is disabled. So, I mean, there are a variety of mental health disorders, bipolar, borderline personality disorder, anxiety, depression. We could just go on and on I call it the alphabet soup of mental health diagnoses. And so I think it just depends on the severity of those things. Schizophrenia, schizoaffective disorder, other things like that are going to be easier for qualification than some of the other ones. Let's see here. Okay, I think what we're going to do is we're going to move on for right now. Did you have anything else on this slide that you wanted to cover before we move on?
I do want to mention, before we also continue moving forward, we are not legal aid. We are just a consulting firm. So I just want to throw that out.
Okay, so one person says, is the payee the person, the login to the benefits site? The representative payee is if they are approved for benefits, who they pay the benefits to on behalf of said individual with a disability. The representative payee, a parent that has guardianship that shows the guardianship to the Social Security Administration, they are going to be that representative payee. And I tell people that the rep payee should be whoever in the relationship has the most time to sit on the hold with the Social Security Administration if there are issues. Okay. So that's what I would say to that as far as the rep payee. The rep payee has guidelines of keeping track of benefits and what the money is spent on. Okay. So we're going to move on to the next page.
So we're going to start with the online application support. As an advocate for you, I will guide the parents through the Social Security application. What does that entail? I'm going to, start you off with, what is needed. As mentioned before, I'm going to make sure that you gather all the information to start the process. So that way we know what it takes to move forward. So as you're gathering that information, I schedule an appointment with you and your child to get that ID.me as mentioned as well, get that process going. And then the second phase is the questionnaire. That is an extensive questionnaire, which it's going to ask about the client's health, the client's work, any kind of basically it's going to ask all the questions of, why is this client applying for the Social Security benefits? They want to know everything. So that is when we schedule, I schedule it with you just to make sure we have all the questions correct. And once we get all that gathered, I basically connect with you again and do an online virtual just to make sure the application is being submitted correctly. So that's where I'm helping you submit the information to make sure that we have everything correct. And then you will be receiving a letter from the Social Security Administration, with them asking for any type of forms. They might ask you for a work form, for an education form, anything like that. I will be the one to, fill that out for you. You will get it sent by email, and you will be submitting that through the portal. Or if you want to go ahead and fax it or send it by mail, that is up to the client.
Sometimes people will walk those things in. I just want to have a comment on the function report. So, some months after the application is submitted, that report that they send out is sometimes overwhelming to families. It's like a 12 to 15 page document that they're asking you to fill out. And basically, what they're asking you is from sun up to sundown, what does your kid do? What can they do? What they can't do? What activities of daily living, also known as ADLs, can they do with help or they can't do without help? Maybe they can't do any activities of daily living. And there is carefully putting down what needs to go on this paper it matters. Okay. And so this is where I know as parents, we love our kids and we're proud of our kids and we're proud of their progress and things like that. And all that information you save up for grandma and people that love you. This is the reality. This is not the rosy posy show. This is the reality of your daily life with your individual with the disability and truly what they cannot do and what they struggle with. Can they be left alone? Can they feed themselves? Can they get in and out of bed without assistance? Can they transfer? Can they toilet? Can they bathe? Those are activities of of daily living, and it needs to truly paint a clear picture of their function. So one person says, I have a child in foster care who is already receiving SSI. Do we still need this? Well, if they're already receiving SSI and they turn 18, they need to reapply. Okay, so you need to be, contacting the Social Security Administration. They are going to have to reapply if that individual is disabled. And furthermore, I just like to throw this out there because if there's anybody else that's here that has a child that is under age 18 and receiving SSI, there is a school form. I'll have to get back to you on what the title of it is. It's something BK. I forget the number of it, but SSA form for proving that your child is still in school. So if your child stays in school to age 19, those SSI benefits can continue to age 19 if they were getting it prior to age 18. But that school form does have to be signed off by the school. You have to submit it to the Social Security Administration. Maybe you walk it in, maybe you fax it, maybe you upload to the portal. portal, but that is one way to keep the benefits going up until age 19 while the other application is pending. Um, how do we change the representative payee? Do we have to go in person to the Social Security Administration with the client? There's a guide for representative payees. There's a way to name successor rep payees. So on the Social Security Administration website, you can type in successor representative payees. So it depends if you're trying to name a successor or if you're trying right now to change who the actual rep payee is. There are some guidelines. They can't be a felon. They can't have committed financial crimes or things like that. But so you're going to call to the Social Security Administration and they will advise. There is an interview for being a representative payee, and they have historically taken those applications over the phone. They have been making some changes at the Social Security Administration, upgrades, by the way. Becoming better. So those things are good. So one person says, for future DAX submittal, would your group assistance assist in getting the disability onset date submitted, or is it best to see an attorney? So that's a loaded question, and it depends if we're trying to get the date of disability changed. If we're trying to apply for childhood disability benefits under a parent's record and we have proof of the date of disability, that is definitely something that we can help with. So let's talk about this roadmap. There's a lot going on this page, but honestly, what a lot of parents want is they just want guidance on what they should expect with the process and guidance on kind of walking through that. So Jessica, talk to us more about that.
So the roadmap for Social Security, as you see, there's a lot going on. So we handle, well, let's say I handle more of the phase 1, phase 2, and somewhat of phase 3. Phase 3 would be more of the form of the 16, is it 1696? Yeah, 1696. If you need further assistance, because I myself cannot call for, the client or for the parent. Parent is the responsible person to be doing that. But if you need further assistance regarding, me to help you out, I'm more than welcome to do that if that form is filled out.
Let's
When
talk
it
about
comes,
that
oh, go
because
ahead.
we don't act as their representative. So while we'll provide guidance on phone calls, there's limited phone calls that you have to do, but there can be an interview when the person is about to be approved if they have questions and things like that. And those are questions that parents are going to have to ask and basically answer. But we don't act as the representative
Correct.
for your loved one. You hold that role. Okay. So that's, one of the things that we do, and we do that intentionally. This is an advocacy, education, and application support service. So we have intended to do that because when a person is acting as the representative, then they're basically going to get 25% of the back pay. You've got a protected filing date when you file that application. And if a person is acting as their representative, then they're eligible for 25% of the back pay capped at 9,200. And that's not how we work. We're a fee for service. There has been several questions on how much is this service. If they're an existing client and we've worked with them in the past 5 years, the prices are 3,000. If not, and they don't have an existing plan with us, then it is 4,000. So it's a fee for service, but we're never getting back pay. The Social Security Administration doesn't pay us. That is not our role. So let's go through this roadmap, okay?
So once we go to the phase 4 through phase 7, you are taking action as a parent. When the determination service, that's when I had mentioned before, you might receive letters in the mail stating, we need more information of medical, of school, of function reports. Those are all from the questionnaire that I have, taken from you. That's all the information that I need to fill out the forms for you. On the phase 5, that, let's see, I don't do a three-way call. That, like as mentioned, is with filling out that form 1696. That we don't handle, as mentioned by Allison. We only educate, we guide the client, we don't do the work for them. So that would not be a part of us. Filling out the timeline application, when it comes to once you file that application, people want to get a response right away. That's not the case. This, once you file through the online, it could take about 12 to 18 months just to get in a response. Sometimes, it just depends. Every person just depends. You can get it sooner. If you do, amazing. If you get it, it's realistically about, what would you say, Allison, about 18 months plus sometimes?
No, it depends. I had one kid that got approved really fast and had a presumptive condition. So it depends if the child has a presumptive condition that the Social Security Administration assumes that the child is disabled. We have tweeners. We have people that are higher functioning on whatever their diagnosis is, and it's not as easy to prove. The bottom line is the Social Security Administration is behind. They're working really hard, but they are behind. And so we tell people 12 to 18 months. Now that may include where a person has been denied and there's been an appeal involved and things like that. But for the presumptive conditions, like Down syndrome is a presumptive condition, those are taking much shorter time. Way back, it used to be fast, like 3 months. We're seeing anywhere from 6 to 12 months for a presumptive condition where a person is presumed disabled. Autism in itself is not considered a presumptive condition, but if we've got autism and an intellectual disability, the inability to perform activities of daily living, then it could be presumptive. But I just want to be clear because a lot of people have kids on the spectrum that autism in itself is not a slam dunk. ADHD, not a slam dunk, but we've seen lots of people approved. We've also seen a lot of quote unquote high functioning ADHD and autism denied, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's over. There's a lot of denials that come out of the Social Security Administration initially, but that's where an appeal comes in. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. But I think the bottom line is we want to get the application cooking. So there was somebody in the chat box, and this is a good question. It says, we have not determined whether our 18-year-old will ultimately be able to support himself. How long of a time frame do we have to determine if he requires assistance? So, and then it says, as an FYI, I'm planning to claim my Social Security benefits in 4 years when I turn 70. So my suggestion, a couple of things. Number one is if you can help it. Some people can't help it because there's survivor benefits or a parent is already getting Social Security disability. But if you can help it, you want to apply for SSI and get that protected filing date noted prior to turning on your Social Security. And the reason that matters is because the order of operations and how things happen matter to protect that Medicaid status going forward. And we want to protect Medicaid for Medicaid waivers, for any of the other Medicaid programs that your child needs. So we want to protect that Medicaid. So the order of operations of how and when we apply matters. And in the ideal situation, we apply for the SSI for your disabled child. Adult child, and we protect that filing date prior to you turning on your Social Security. There's nothing wrong with getting the application cooking. So if we have an 18-year-old, you're certainly not alone, that a lot of people are still hopeful and optimistic of where their kids are going to be. They're not there yet. So my suggestion would be go ahead and apply, go ahead and get that, that process started, see if they're going to get denied or not. Because what we want to do is we want to prove that the child's disability started prior to age 22 so they can be covered under a parent's record in the future when you turn on your Social Security. That's a mouthful, but that's part of the education that we're going to be providing of how and when to pull the trigger on that kind of stuff so it maximizes maximizes the benefits, but also protects Medicaid. Okay. So one person said, do they back pay to the date of the application? And that is typically when they back pay to. For SSI, the back pay is usually broken up into 2 or 3 payments, and they usually spread them out over 6 months. If it's back pay for Social Security, or CDB benefits, childhood disability benefits, that back pay usually comes all at once. Okay. For future DAX submittal, would your group assist in getting? Oh, I think we already looked at that question. I apologize. I think
Yes.
I missed one. Okay, got it. So the date of the application and the back pay, that's the protected filing date, and that is going to be really important. And we want to get that going again because it takes so long. So SSI right now it's $9.94 a month. If you're listening and your kid's already getting SSI and they're getting like 660 something or 661 or 663, that tells me that you don't have a rent agreement in place for the SSI to be the full amount of $9.94. Some states have adjustments or additional amounts that complement the $9.94. Texas isn't one of them, if you were wondering. So you're not missing out on anything. Texas doesn't have a bump to that $9.94. But if you're getting 600 and something and the child isn't working, then a rent agreement needs to be submitted. We help with all of that kind of stuff. And that will get them up to the full amount of the $9.94 because there is a 1/3 reduction if the rent agreement isn't in place. Okay.
And I like what
Um,
you mentioned, Allison, about when parents file, if they get denied, parents tend to just give up and don't move forward. I like how you mentioned, all of that. So hopefully they're able to, move forward and not give up when it comes to
so
filing.
yeah, let's talk about perseverance. I had a kid, a tweener, if you will, that, the kid that doesn't necessarily fit anywhere. Like they don't fit in private school for special needs. They don't fit into an intellectual disability category, but they don't necessarily fit other places. It's been hard. I call them the tweeners, right? They have disabilities, documented disabilities. Um, but then there are other things that they do quite well. That kid of mine was denied 3 times and appealed and finally approved on the last appeal. And the judge basically said that she should have been approved from the beginning, which I already knew that, right? And so it just depends. So if we've got, kids that are quote unquote, the term that people use, higher functioning, I am not being negative. I would just say you should fully expect to get denied the first time. It's just game on. Okay. And we file the
Mhm.
appeal, right? So let's talk about if approved and if denied and what happens there.
So if approved, the Social Security will send you an approval letter from the start date and the benefits when they will start. As mentioned previous, back pay, on the question that was asked, back pay is issued from the filing date, as well as the monthly payments begin within 30 to 60 days. Very important, make sure that you set up a direct deposit with Social Security. If you don't, it becomes a problem. They do, I believe they still send checks. They'll send a
I think
check,
they're only
but they're
doing
trying
direct
to get away
deposit
from
and they
that.
send up a
Yes.
government account. They
Yeah.
set up
So
a government
they,
account if there's no bank.
correct. They expect for you to have a direct deposit for you to provide them that information. Sometimes what happens, it would just stay on a hold until you provide them that information. As well
I
as
want to talk
if you
about a
have any,
problem with
okay,
that.
go ahead.
Because whenever my daughter finally got approved, so they said that we would be getting a check in 30 to 60 days. And that was November. And I think that first check came in March. So it was a far cry from 30 to 60 days. Because once she was approved, then they had to go back and do it retroactive for 3.5 years. And then it went to the payment center, the processing center, and it took forever. So they did mail me a check, which was in her name, which should have been for in my name as the representative payee. So I sat on it for a long time. But the problem is the appointment of representative payee letter came weeks after that. So I sat on that check for a long time, because you cannot open a representative payee. If your child is going to have a representative payee, you need the letter from the Social Security Administration to open that representative payee account. So I know we got a lot of people that are, let's get this done and can I work ahead on that? And the answer is really no. If you're banking with any of the big banks, Chase, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, they need that letter of appointing you as representative payee to open that representative payee account. So I just want to mention that. And again, we educate you on all of this process. Let's talk about denials.
So let me finish off on the approved. Make sure that reporting all changes is prompt. Let's on that. If you decide to work, if you change address, your home address, anything that pertains to the person, any changes have to be made. Don't go without making changes because that could affect you. I know, I've had some people that don't claim certain items, it gets lost. So that's a big one. I would say, if that's correct, Allison, report all changes when it comes to, the family or the person.
And that's after the fact. That's income, that's working. And it's always important and required to report changes. And if you don't report changes, you could end up in a payback situation. So that is why it is important to report changes once you're approved. As far as being denied that appeal, this is so. We don't file the appeals. A person can file their appeal theirself. What my opinion is I didn't. I'm completely capable. And I know you guys are too, but I didn't file my own appeal. There are some nuances with filing appeals and providing new information that they didn't already have. And if you just submit the same information that they already made a decision on, they're just going to deny it again. You only have so many appeals. So my advice is don't mess that up. And so what we typically do is we refer to an attorney that their whole business is filing appeals, SSI appeals. And the cool thing about that is they don't get paid unless they win. Okay. So if they don't win your case, you owe them nothing. If they do get if they win your case, this is where we're talking about, this is where it switches over and they start representing you. And that's where they would be on the case for the 25% of the back pay capped at $9,200. That's how that would work. So it wouldn't be any out of pocket money directly to the attorney. The Social Security Administration would pay them directly, and they only get paid if they win. So we definitely don't recommend hiring an attorney right off the bat, especially if a person has a presumptive condition like Down syndrome. We don't think that's necessary. It's when and if you get denied, that's when we're going to talk about, because that denial letter is going to say why you got denied. And is the reason for the denial legit, or is it a stretch? Most of the time it's a stretch. And so that's where we'll provide that guidance and the referral to the person. Now, I will say the firm that we have referred people to over the years for these appeals, I'm not aware that she's even lost one of any of the referrals that we have sent over. She's really great as far as those appeals are concerned. She knows exactly what she's doing with that as well.
And when receiving the denial letters, don't pass it and put it to the side. You do have, when they tell you 60 days, you want to get it before 60 days. You don't want to, go past it.
They're serious about their letters, and their letters always have timelines and dates on them. And you for an appeal, it's 60 days, but they may say we need this function report back in 15 days. Like, different things and different letters have different numbers of
Different
days
timing.
on them, but they are not playing. Those days are important and they are serious about those days. Okay. So all I would say is I know as a parent that I've gone to the mailbox at the end of the day after a very long day and you have this thick letter in the box from the Social Security Administration. And I automatically think, not today. I'm not even going to look at this right now. I'm going to drink my coffee in the morning and look at this, right? But you got to look at it and you got to read every page of their long worded letters because the action that you take or don't take will affect whether or not you need to reapply or if you can continue the process. Okay.
Correct. And if get the services with us, that's what I'm here for. If you don't understand the letters, what they're sending you, that's what I'm here for, guys. So you're not alone in the process. You or will have me as a benefit consultant just to help you out, make sure everything is, not overwhelming for you as a parent. You want to stay organized, you want to respond promptly, you want to be knowledgeable, and that's what I'm here to help you out. I want to be able to navigate you, make you understand what the benefits are, what it takes for your child to get these benefits. And, as mentioned from previous, if you get denied, that's not the end of the road. So I definitely would consider, if you would like for us to help you out, um, let us know. We're here to help you and we're here to support you in any which way we can. Just so, you're able to take quick action and, your child has the benefits that they need to move forward in life.
Yes, thank you for that. And so, from a perspective of, this, I will say, from a parent, can you do this yourself? You certainly can. We've got a lot of families that just want to hire somebody to kind of do the heavy lifting on this. So we're happy to help you with that. And again, we, implemented this service after years of people asking us, did we do this service or would we do this service? Again, we talked about the price. It is a fee for service that we are that we're offering. And that price, it starts at 3,000 and it goes up to 4,000. And it just depends on the planning that you've done so far. So again, we're not, and if you guys have attended our webinars in the past, we're simply here to educate you on the service that is available. Our webinars are not typically what I would consider a sales pitch. That's not our goal. We want to educate. We want to empower. We want to advocate. If we can be of service to you, to your family, to the families that you serve. If you're here and you're a professional serving the special needs community, that's what we are here for. So I always like to share our team. We work on a collaborative team here at CPG. So whether you get Jessica or other members of the team, we all work collaboratively here. And everybody is going to get a copy of today's slides and a link to the recording. This is going to have the link for any upcoming webinars that we have coming up, and you can register for those in the future. All of our webinars are recorded. Again, they live on the Consolidated Planning Group YouTube channel. When you register for a webinar with us, you will get a copy of today's slides and a link to the recording. We always do that after the fact of the presentation. So this right here, what you see on our screen here is the QR code, and this takes you to our calendar where you can schedule your free personalized consultation to learn more or go deeper with our services, the doors that you can walk through with CPG. So before we leave for today, I do have a few other questions that I would like to run through that people ask. One person said, what about guardianship after 18? That is a good question. We have all kinds of webinars on guardianship, for a person turning 18. And the key word is not just guardianship, but alternatives to guardianship. Lots of webinars on the YouTube channel on that. I know we had Boyd Hanley yesterday. I know he's done guardianship webinars with us in the past, so you might want to search that on the YouTube channel. Let's see. Do I have to have guardianship before my daughter can get SSI? Absolutely not. That's not the case. Yay for that. How do I make sure I keep my special needs adult eligible for Medicaid? And a lot of that is part in having money in the right buckets, not having more than $2,000 in their name outside of an ABLE account or a special needs trust. We help families with that and help navigate that. Um, how do we plan for her future? Again, this is where our consultation is designed to have a better understanding of who you guys are as a family, what you've done so far, and how we might be able to help you going forward. We're going to share the doors that you can walk through with us. And our goal is always to build on the foundation that you have already set up and understand where you are in the process. Some people have done a lot and their advisor doesn't have any background in special needs and they just want a second opinion. Some people have started, but then they put it on the shelf and they need to pick up where they left off. And some people are just getting started. So wherever you are in the process with that, we can come alongside of you. My daughter is 18 and a senior in high school. Can she receive SSI benefits? And the answer is once they've turned 18, it's based off of their income and assets, not the parents. So the answer is yes. And what about if they are under guardianship? What if they still live in my house? What if I still claim them on my tax return? If they're over 18, regardless of any of those scenarios that I just mentioned, it is going to be based off of their income and assets and not yours if they're over 18. So the answer is, even if they're still in high school or 18 plus programs, Mosaic, whatever that might be, the answer is yes, we can still apply. My son received SSI before turning 18. Now he just turned 18 last month. Should I let him apply for SSI disability? So I would say this is not a job for the faint of heart, and it's definitely not a job for an 18-year-old. They'll never get it done. And I'm not saying your child isn't smart, because they all are, but it is a lot. It is a lot, and people feel overwhelmed by it. The situation changed with the Social Security Administration. It used to be that you would go on and you would mark your basically state your intention of applying for SSI, and it would take 5 minutes or less. And then they would say that somebody from the Social Security Administration is going to call you in 2 or 3 weeks to set up a phone interview. And that has changed. So what used to take, 5 to 7 minutes now takes 1.5 to 2 hours. It's not small. So it has drastically changed. So either hire help or help your son if you're going to do it yourself. I did put our contact information in the chat box. And then this QR code that is on the page is where you can sign up and schedule your free consultation. Okay. One person says we are not signed up or on the wait list. And that is a loaded question or statement. And what they're talking about is the Medicaid waivers. All states have something called Medicaid waivers. Each state call them something different, but the premise behind them are Medicaid waivers. Some states, like Texas, have a very long waiting list. 17 to 20 years here in Texas, which is true for Florida as well. Other states don't have waiting lists at all. But if your child is not on the Medicaid waiver waiting list, then you may want to make sure that they are. And guys, on our YouTube channel, we have a Medicaid waiver webinar. Explains how to get on the list. It explains what waivers are available in Texas and all you need to do on that. One person says, can I make an appointment with you? That QR code right on the screen. When you get the slides, you can do it now on your cameras. If you hover your camera over that QR code, it's going to take you to a calendar to schedule your free initial consultation. And that will also have a scheduled link in the email when you get the slides. slides and a link to the recording. Let's see. One person says they would like help for applying for benefits. And how do we go through the process of reconsideration and reapplying? And that is loaded also, unless we have to know why they were denied. How long ago were they denied? Are we past the 60 days? That would be further information that we would chat with you about during that free initial consultation. So everybody has really put in a lot of questions today, a lot of great questions. Bottom line is you guys aren't alone. There is support here for you, and we're happy to help you along the way in whatever direction that you guys need to go. So Jessica, we are happy that you're here. You're awesome.
Thank you.
And so we'll look forward to you guys reaching out and setting up your initial appointment, and we'll talk to you a little bit further from there.
Thank you, everyone.
So having said that, all of our contact information is in the chat box. Everybody's getting a copy of the slides and the link to the recording. And we certainly wish everyone a wonderful afternoon, and thanks for taking the time to meet with us today. Bye now.
Thank you. Bye-bye.